Your brain is a 300-year-old meatball designed to keep you from being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or falling into a ravine, not to process breaking news, group chats, food delivery apps, and the fact that Pluto isn't a planet anymore. It was built for hunting, gathering, and very occasionally inventing fire, not doom scrolling until 3 a.m. while half watching a documentary about mushroom cults. But here we are. We've basically taken this beautifully average survival organ and plugged it into a 24/7 cosmic anxiety machine, and it's not doing well. In fact, modern stress is like giving a caveman a smartphone and then screaming at him about inflation, climate change, and intermittent fasting. The result? Your brain freaks out in subtle but creative ways. It starts tossing cortisol around like confetti, giving you random anxiety over things like text messages, typos, or why your boss said, "got it," with a period. That's right, punctuation now feels like a personal attack. Because your brain was never trained to interpret passive-aggressive grammar, it was trained to hear a twig snap and immediately wonder which jungle cat is about to turn you into a chew toy. Basically, your brain is overclocked, underprepared, and panicking in a cardigan. Let's talk about notifications, those sweet little dopamine grenades that go ding and hijack your entire attention span. Your brain, bless its outdated circuits, treats every ping like it's a rustling bush that could contain danger, or berries, or a potential mate. And it reacts with the exact same fight or scroll instinct, lighting up your reward system as if you've just discovered fire again. But here's the kicker. We're not getting a tiger or a berry, we're getting a text from mom, "Don't forget dentist." This constant digital assault forces your brain into a state called hypervigilance, which is a fancy way of saying you're always a little on edge, like a meerkat who drank espresso. It's why you feel jumpy when your phone buzzes, or panicked when you hear a notification sound that isn't even yours. Worse, your nervous system doesn't get to complete the stress cycle anymore because the danger never ends. In the old days, you either fought the predator or got eaten. Either way, it was over in 10 minutes. Now, you just carry micro stress around all day, wondering why you're exhausted after sending 3 emails and attending a meeting that could have been a Google Doc. Bottom line, your brain thinks you're in the middle of a forest fire, but you're actually just trying to remember your PayPal password. At some point, your brain just gives up. And it's not because you're lazy, it's because there's too much reality. In 1 hour, you can scroll past a war, a wedding, 3 conspiracy theories, a makeup tutorial, and a cat that plays piano. Imagine explaining that to your Neanderthal ancestors. They had rock and other rock. That was their whole day. We've upgraded to trending trauma buffet. This is called cognitive overload, and it fries your attention span like an egg on a Las Vegas sidewalk. Your brain is constantly trying to prioritize what matters, but when everything is presented at maximum volume, it short circuits. That's why you start 12 tabs and can't remember what any of them were for. That's why you rewatch the same show for comfort. That's why you open the fridge 17 times hoping something new will appear. Your prefrontal cortex, the brain's decision-making CEO, is burned out, underpaid, and ready to unionize. So you end up making weird decisions, like ordering socks at 2 a.m. or getting emotionally attached to a sea otter live stream. In short, we're not wired for infinite input. We're wired for, "Is that a snake?" and "Can I eat this?" Here's a fun brain teaser. Imagine infinity. Go on, try. Did your brain short circuit a little? Did your eyes glaze over while your soul briefly left your body? That's because your brain hates infinity. It's a finite organ in an infinite world, and it absolutely cannot compute the scale of, say, the universe, death, or how long an average email chain goes on. When we encounter something that's way too big, like space, eternity, or why there are 37 types of toothpaste, the brain tries to simplify it into something it can handle, usually by going, "Nope," and changing the subject to something more manageable, like, "Is cereal soup?" This discomfort is actually called existential anxiety, and it's been the fuel behind religion, philosophy, and probably 90% of stone dorm room conversations. But in modern life, we face existential level input daily. Climate change, AI, global politics, The fact that whales exist and we still go to work like that's not insane. The result? Your brain defaults to distraction. It binge watches, it doom scrolls, it obsessively organizes playlists. Not because you're shallow, but because contemplating cosmic vastness while eating leftover pad thai is too much for a lump of gray matter evolved to make fire and pick berries. So next time you feel weird staring at the stars too long, don't worry. Your brain just tried to process the void and said, yeah, I'm gonna go scream into a pillow now. Your brain's memory system is less high-tech computer and more unreliable narrator with a drinking problem. It thinks it remembers everything correctly, but it lies. Often and confidently. You don't store memories like files, you rebuild them every time. That's right. Every memory you recall gets slightly edited, like an overworked script that keeps getting rewritten by a drunk intern. So that cherished childhood moment, it might have been a fever dream. That awkward thing you said in 2014 that haunts you every night probably didn't even happen the way you think. And yet, we use memory as the foundation of identity, personality, and, oh yeah, the legal system. This is like building a skyscraper on a swamp and acting surprised when it leans. Throw in social media, aka a curated memory distortion machine, and your brain has no idea what's real anymore. It confuses scrolling through old photos with actual emotional closure. It mistakes likes for validation. And don't even get it started on how it processes dreams. 1 minute you're flying, the next you're in high school again with no pants. Just vibes and unresolved trauma. In summary, your brain stores memories the way a raccoon hoards trash, enthusiastically, but with very little accuracy. Your brain desperately needs sleep, like desperately, not just to rest but to clean itself, literally. During deep sleep, your brain goes into janitor mode and flushes out metabolic waste through something called the glymphatic system. Yes, your brain has its own plumbing. And no, it doesn't work while you're awake. So every time you skip sleep, it's like telling your apartment complex, don't worry about taking out the trash for a week. I love the smell of cognitive decay. And yet, what do? We stay up watching videos about how important sleep is. Irony levels. Off the charts. The thing is, your brain is not built for the concept of pulling an all-nighter while checking TikTok, refreshing your inbox, and Googling, why can't I sleep? That's like asking your laptop to install 12 updates during a thunderstorm while streaming 4K video. Eventually, it's just going to overheat and throw errors, which, in your case, feels like emotional numbness, bad decisions, and wondering why cereal tastes so loud today. Long-term sleep deprivation messes with your memory, immune system, and even your ability to regulate emotions. It's the biological equivalent of trying to run a marathon in clown shoes while being chased by bees. Not impossible, just incredibly unwise. Basically, if your brain had a voice, it would scream, "Turn me off and plug me in, you lunatic." Your emotions were designed as primitive alerts. Think of them like pop-ups from your inner cave person. Fear meant danger. Sadness meant loss. Anger meant something or someone was messing with your mammoth meat. But modern life doesn't come with those same caveman problems. So what happens? Your emotional software starts throwing fits over abstract nonsense, like passive-aggressive emails, or the sound of someone chewing, or the fact that your ex is thriving on social media even though they still don't know how to park properly. This leads to a lovely phenomenon known as emotional dysregulation, where you feel way too much or way too little at completely the wrong times. You might cry over a pizza commercial, or feel nothing when someone says, "I love you." Cool, totally functional. And don't even get started on emotional hangovers when your brain continues to spiral hours, or days, after something dumb happens, like you accidentally called your teacher mom in 2006. Your brain still replays that on loop like it's the Titanic of your social life. In short, your emotions were built for running from tigers. Now they're just trying to figure out how to survive a comment section.